Greetings, y'all. What's up? Peace in. So how did you guys test day go? Today was the first day for the 2023 admissions SHSAT day. So most middle schoolers in 8th grade took the exam today. There's still a whole bunch of other test days, about 4 other test days. And I suspect the DOE is going to still add another day. A lot of students got put on December 11th, which they were expecting to be this weekend. But nonetheless, so we're just going to chat for a little bit. No agenda. Just if you guys have random questions or whatever. I'm wiped out. I can barely believe I can still talk. So let's try to shoot for maybe doing this for 15 minutes and see how things turn out. Let's see if we're live. And I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. There's still a lot of testing dates, and I have a bunch of SHSAT 9 students as well, so that's going to be interesting as we turn the screw on those kind of things like that. So what's up? Anybody have any questions? I do these impromptu. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm just randomly starting up streams when I get free time. As we turn the screw on those. So kind of the feedback I got from my own students and also on the internet. Whoops, let me fix this. How do I get this back? Is that the test was challenging, as it normally is for most students. So that's not really unexpected, right? And basically math probably had a lot of fractions and stuff, but otherwise nothing unusual. And the ELA seemed to be, I guess, maybe the whammy here this year was a bunch of longer passages. Not really sure if that makes the test stand out. Every year there's wild cards. So that seems to be more in line where they were lining up here. Otherwise, it seems par for the course. It's grade 7 material with some twisty questions. And that's pretty much what you guys got. So what do you guys feel? I see a bunch of people in the lobby. Hello. What do you guys feel about taking your test today? We have no agenda today. We're just hanging out. Or if you guys have questions, you can ask questions as well. And you can chat amongst yourselves as well if you want. Nobody with any thoughts about today's exam? Plus those of you who are going to be taking it on Saturday and Sunday, congratulations for your diligence, as well as the students who took it today. High five for sure. You guys hopefully can look back at this fondly and remember your SHSAT day. It's a hard test that has lots of controversy related to it. And it's something you guys should be proud of yourself for doing. Oh, that's weird. I have a green cup. It's coming through black. Nobody has any questions or statements? The test was dumb. Some of the questions were very different. Like, for example, one question was like 500 decimals and stuff with division and multiplication and so on. It was very weird. That does sound atypical. Decimals are not really a focus feature of the SHSAT per se. They're included, including conversions from fractions thereof. But normally they kind of have you guys avoiding stuff like that. But that's interesting to hear. There's always wild cards, though. Really? I am a 9th grader, and I didn't remember that from last year. Maybe it was a field question. Yes, it could have been a field question. Or they just changed the mode. Some years they just add a topic, and they'll have 3, 4, 5 questions about it. And it's kind of really nothing you can do about that. But it could have been a field question. That's going to be a heads up for future years. Anybody else? That's one of the problems with the test is the topic list is not released. And it's just everything you've ever learned in math up until now and everything you ever learned in ELA up until now. So it has kind of weird twist to it. Welcome, I see a whole bunch of people in the lobby. Yeah, I hope so as well for them. Was the decimals relating to a pattern, or just, it was actually computations that you had to do? Yeah, I'm not sure what delay we had tonight, because sometimes YouTube has about a 30-second delay. So there might be a lag between the time we're going back and forth. Seriously, it must have been very bad. So far from everybody I've heard, and I haven't heard from an awful lot, but certainly a few hundred students on the internet and my own students. So it's not like I've heard from every single last student. The general census seems to be that the math wasn't too bad, except it had kind of these odd things into it, especially fractions. And that the ELA just had long passages. So I was sick today all of a sudden. And you took the test or you stayed home? Let's see, is that the same guy? No, it's somebody else. Okay. Yeah, you know, these things happen. Luckily, there's multiple dates, and you're going to have to reschedule. Unfortunately, your schedule is not going to be for another month. So it could be December 11th, though, but and it's not going to be in your school anymore. It's going to be in a weekend, and you have to travel to it and all that other stuff. But that's the way it goes. I know I've heard some people saying, oh, you should be glad, you should be happy, you should be lucky. Well, first of all, you shouldn't be lucky you got sick. And it sounds like it's good to have an extra month to prepare. But at the same thing, if you prepared for a test today, postponing it for a month can kind of drag your brain back and forth to different places. So, yeah, definitely sorry to hear that. And, you know, reset yourself somehow. Because that is definitely a mind screw up to not be able to take a test that you thought was going to be today, or certainly in Saturday and Sunday. That's the problem. Some students, even though they're not sick, they thought they were taking the test this weekend, and they're not taking it for 3 or 4 weeks. That's not really too nice of a scenario. So. Yeah, and by the way, if you're sick, you just contact your guidance counselor. They probably will ask for a doctor's note, but, you know, especially with COVID and other things going on nowadays, you should be able to get it rescheduled without too much fanfare. Yeah, it's going to be the 11th or the 17th at this point. The 21st, I think you guys... I'm not sure when your break is this year. Let me see. Let's see, the 21st. No, that's a Wednesday. I have a feeling the DOE is still going to add another date in. That's just my feeling. But who knows? It just means extra forms, of course. There's different forms of the SHSAT. So, and study on weekdays. Yeah, the major feeling I'm getting so far, in the next few days that might change, including as the extra dates come along, the Saturday and Sunday dates. But it seems like the majority of students did not really care for the ELA portion. Basically, what I'm hearing is there was even multiple three-page essays, and something about a rock and an acorn passage, which I think I know that passage, and it's not too bad of a passage, but I don't know what questions they asked you, and it may be a different passage. So 2 + 1 = 21. Yeah. But other students may have gotten different poems. I don't know if every form had the same poem. And even if it had the same poem, it may have different questions. As we all know, some of the ELA questions can be really convoluted and twisted. So, you know, even if it's straightforward, they're going to ask you inferencing nuancey questions that are all twisted up. So, you know, that's just the way the exam goes. It's really important, guys, to understand main idea, to understand author's craft, to understand literary devices. And if the poem is the one I think of, which they're not going to give again after today, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, it really requires a theme underneath it, because sometimes the main idea is intertwined with a moral or a theme. And that poem, I believe, was leaning towards that direction. Please like and subscribe, people. Yes, constant of proportionality needs to go through 0, 0. I don't want to talk about the question specifically, but if you have generic questions, that's probably worth it. Slice of 3D. I'm not sure what you mean by slice of 3D. Or are you talking about the similar question from the handbook where they had a rectangular prism and they cut a slice through it? Absolutely, dumpster. Those, I call them tiebreakers, and then when you get down to the 50-50, they become hair splitters. Some of them are painfully hard to distinguish, even for me, and I've done thousands of these at this point, across a whole bunch of different exams. And the SAT tiebreakers are amongst the worst, for sure. So Danielle, I'm not sure what you mean by the slice of the 3D. Was that the question similar to the one from the handbook? Yes, yeah. So there was one in the handbook similar to that, where they had a rectangular prism and they put a horizontal slice through it, and you got a square because the bases were squares. So Isosceles triangle form was a grid-in. The grid-ins get you too, because you have nothing to go on. You have to get it correct. There's no choice to lean on. So, but sometimes that's good. I like to answer all the multiple choices without looking at them, and then as part of my sanity checking, then use that. You can have double checking, sanity checking, all those kind of things like that. What's going on here? I'm falling off the screen. Let me twist this back the other way. I must have hit my computer. Will I still be doing SHSAT streams after today? Yes, I will. I started very late this year. I was totally overwhelmed, and that's the way it goes. I will finish it. I am totally at the brink of exhaustion, so I am just going to sleep today and continue. I guess tomorrow I'll do some, including in the morning. So. And you have to use the handbooks as the guide. They're not completely the exam. They're representational examples, but you just got to go with that. When do the results come out? They're going to come out for a couple of months, mid-March. Think mid-March. The DOE said early March. They normally do not meet their deadlines. Even when they give exact dates, they don't meet their deadlines. So figure March 15th, and that's pretty much the normal schedule that things work on. The past 2 years, things were off schedule, but this year they're more or less on schedule. All right, and then you're going to probably have till about the end of April to decide or something like that. Yeah, get your life back. So what are you guys going to be doing for the ones who took the exam? What are you going to be doing now with your, quote, free time? You know, when I took the SHSAT, but I don't know if you guys know, I went to Brooklyn Tech, but when I took the SHSAT, nobody prepped. In fact, I knew nothing really about the exam. I went into the test on test day and was horrified at what was before me. You know, it's completely different now. Really, you'll be remiss these days to not prep for it. And the competition is a lot more fierce, and just it's an ordeal for sure. So You're going to be going on dates now? Hey, why not? Why not? And most of the all the specialized high schools are good schools. So, no, I didn't study because nobody studied at that point. I knew nothing about the exam. There was nothing like an SAT handbook. You just showed up and took the exam. So it had nothing to do with me being too good. Nobody that I was aware of even knew about the exam. I heard about it through my father, and it sounded awesome. I was a nerdy guy, a geek. I still am. So whatever. Huh. Wrong science first, even though I could have went to STI. My normal average is like 2 wrong in math and 6. Oh wow, that's pretty good, especially on the ELA. And that may be what you did today. So, yeah. At the time I took the exam, it was back in like the 1400s. There was only the 3 schools. There was only Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant, and Bronx Science. I only wanted to go to Tech. I liked the fact that Tech had the majors, and I liked the science classes specifically. And at the time, I was living in Rockaway, and it still took me multiple hours to get there. So, so at that point, Brooklyn Tech made a lot of sense to me for a lot of reasons. So, and I just loved taking 4 years of math and science and other stuff like that. It was when I took my first computer class. I fell in love with computer programming, and the rest is history. Did you go to the open house? I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but at the time, I don't think they had open houses when I went there. But I was aware of it. My father knew a lot about Brooklyn Tech, and it had my name on it for sure. It was far for me as well. I lived in Rockaway. There were days it took 3 hours to get there one way and 3 hours to get back. My average commute was probably over an hour and a half every day. And this was back in the days, since I lived in Rockaway, I had to take a bus to the train. And the IRT, the numbered trains, it often broke down halfway through. So the subway system was horrible at the time. No air conditioning, no heat. It was pretty miserable scenarios. So, oh, did you? Oh, man. You're not supposed to tell me that. I have to put my ears up. I can hear you. Kind of a thing, right? Well, if you need help, you can hire me as a tutor to help you with the response. Hey, anything can happen. It probably would not be the first time it ever happened. You didn't send it through a satellite? With all the help I give the world, nobody sent it to me? How different was the SAT like that then? I heard both the 8th and 9th grade SHSATs existed, but I heard the acceptance between grades were a lot more split. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of differences, and I'll be honest with it, I was pretty agnostic to it all. Like I said, my father mentioned this great school to me. I researched it, which was impossible, because things like Google didn't exist at the time, nor did an iPhone or anything like that. Nobody had computers. So I had this weird feeling we went to visit it, and they gave us a brochure, and my father knew people who had graduated from it. My father was an electronic technician, and so I got to talk with him about that, and he would ask the people who had gone there different questions about that. My father worked at Sperry in Long Island, which no longer exists. Think of them as like the predecessor to Boeing, and he also worked on stuff that was involved with the lunar landing and all these other kind of things like that. So he was with technical people, even though my father actually never graduated from high school. He never finished elementary school. So my story is weird. Just to cut through the chase, I got lost on my test day and almost didn't get to take the SHSAT. And when I finally sat down, I was late. It was in the Brooklyn Tech Auditorium, and they gave me a clipboard, and I opened it up, and I almost peed in my pants because I'd never seen anything like it before. It was like I was reading something in another language. That's how deep and complicated and stuff it was. So, good night. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to run the stream for myself. I just popped on. I do these things spontaneously. Basically, I have no time, or I'm exhausted, or I'm trying to save my voice for students. Obviously, I'm losing half of my students after today because they took the test today. But that's the way it goes. And I'll just starting a new round of students, and it'll give me a break. Plus, I tutor for other exams like the Hunter College High School exam, the PSAT, the SAT, the ISEE, the SSAT. I also help students with the Bergen County Academy, which is similar to a specialized high school, but in North New Jersey, Bergen County, New Jersey. So there's stuff like that as well. So how different was it back then? That's basically the deal. I felt like I was taking an IQ test. And what I'm not been able to do is I've been trying to spend years trying to find old copies of the SHSAT. And they just don't exist anywhere that I'm aware of. There was even a point I put stuff on the internet, I would pay for it. I doubt I would pay for it anymore, but you know, it would be really fun to see the exams I took, because we all have access to the DOE handbooks currently, the PDF forms, but they really only go back to 2008. There's another school in Virginia, Thomas Jefferson, which at one point was also using the SHSAT for admissions. They no longer do that, but then I tried to find their old copies of their tests as well, but they're nowhere. They're nowhere. And I have this weird feeling that they even are lost inside the DOE, which would be a shame. They are kind of historical. No matter what you think of the SHSAT, it would actually be interesting and fun to see like an exam from maybe the 1900s and like every decade after that, 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940, 1950, just to see what was the same and what was different, what they modified, you know, especially with conversations I have recently about the wildcards to the SHSAT, which is basically the spins on it, like we were talking about earlier. They seem to have added more fractions, perhaps more decimals this year, things like that. Yes, that's true. That's pretty much a guaranteed question. Once constant of proportionality is on the exam, that's going to be one of these kind of questions. That question even is on stuff like the SAT at a certain level. And that's it becomes a 5-second question. Again, there was at least one example in this year's handbook that also was set up the same way, involving tables. There was 2 or 3 graphic ones, and one was a table. It may have been like question 113 of Form A or something like that. That was exactly that kind of question, Sylvia. But yes, if there's a constant of proportionality, then 0, 0 is going to be that, because y is equal to kx, k being the constant of proportionality. So if x is 0, then k times x must also be 0, which means y is 0. Therefore, 0, 0 is definitely a point on something that is being represented by a constant of proportionality situation. So yes, that's true. So if it involves constant proportionality, it must include a 0, 0. That's pretty much guaranteed. I spoke about that in my reviews already. That I also did an unboxing video, where I talked about it there too, where I was kind of giving a heads up of what I thought the areas of the test they were going to lean on this year. So far, they leaned on a few of the ones that I mentioned. What I'm curious about is that question number 99 that had that that AB tree. Nobody seems to be mentioning that coming up. So I'm not sure why they added that to the handbook if it's not on any of the exams. That said, there's still tens of thousands of kids who have to take this exam. So maybe they're going to do that Saturday or Sunday or on the December exams. Yeah, the thing with constant proportionality is that's a major thing for grade 7. I'm often surprised that students are surprised about the constant proportionality because it was supposed to be a major math feature of grade 7 because it's going to lead into the grade 8 stuff talking about linear equations, y equals mx plus b, right? If b is 0, we basically get y equals mx. Which is that b is our offset. So if you have something that's graphing going through 0, 0, if you move it up or down, that's the b. So it's y equals mx plus the b, the up and down movement. We can have different parallel lines. And the constant of proportionality, if x goes up, then y goes up. There's also an inverse constant of proportionality, where if x goes up, y goes down, and if x goes down, y goes up. That latter part doesn't get too much focused on New York State curriculum, but it's certainly part of it. So, and things like the slope, if you guys know how to do slope, that also still gets, it's still involved in the strategy. Because, for instance, the example Sylvia gave, if it doesn't mention 0, 0, they don't have to give you 0 and 0. You just need to be able to test it. You have to figure out the table and have it make sense. One way to figure out the table is see if there actually is a slope. And once you figure out the slope, you can test it to see if it goes through 0, 0. All right? So that's one way to figure it out. All right, anybody else? There's a bunch of people in the lobby. Please like and subscribe. Please share. Please comment. Anybody else have any idiosyncrasies or weirdness or things you're concerned about the exam? Either you took it or you're going to take it, or what's the next step? For those of you who've taken it, the next step is just to wait a few months. They're finally going to send you a PDF in your same way you got your ticket. It's going to be in your documents under the My Schools. And sometimes they US mail a copy as well. And they're saying this year that high school offers and SHSAT offers are going to be made together. Different years they do different stuff. Like last year, the specialized high school offer came first, and it followed up by the general high school offers. No matter how you slice it, you get to choose between them. Okay, so you don't have to decide your specialized high school until after you get your offer for your generalized high school. Okay, so there's going to be a whole time frame for that. So don't really worry about that too much. What other kind of stuff like that? That's pretty much it. And they usually give you about a month to decide, which means that if you have other schools that you're trying to figure out, like a private school or something like that, you can at least avoid making a full payment. Usually you have to at least make a down payment if you're doing a private school that has a payment to it, and you didn't get a scholarship. Yeah, last year it was completely ridiculous. Wasn't it in June even? Or a super late May? It was absolutely ridiculous. I don't even remember. It's a bad dream blur. And I felt so bad for families last year, which is a shame. It's a shame the DOE is just broken in so many ways. Oh, tons better, tons better. All right, anybody have any last questions? I have to put the fire out. Let me see here. Warm my hands up a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm leaning the right way. How does this work? I don't want to burn my fingers though, so. Maybe I can give my fire to dumpster fire here. And like I said, I'm gonna do more live streams about the SHSAT. I also do live streams about other things as well. I have a hardest math section. Basically, I got thrown off since April. I got COVID in April, and I've not been able to 100% reset since then. I picked up a bunch more students way back then, and I've just been going 24/7 since then, every day of the week, just ready to pass out. So, yeah, that's just the way it's gone. Any other questions? All right, sure. Best of luck. And I'm probably going to do a SHSAT 9 math section, certainly the ones from the handbook, and maybe some others. If you want to go to my website, GregsTutoringNYC.com/SHSAT-9. I do have some reference material applying to specifically to 9, which is going over past handbook questions about 9, plus some other examples I've gotten from other places. All right, guys, peace out, best of luck, and enjoy the weather. It's not too freezing yet, but it's getting close. And enjoy your weekend for those who are taking this. Definitely try to enjoy this. It's a special process. And peace and love, everybody. And like and subscribe, of course. Bye.